Hey everybody, so my name is Apriti and I'm a Dominican Voodoo Spiritualist, and today I'm going to be talking about the Aplazamiento. So the Aplazamiento is pretty much the learning stage, or like the second phase of being an initiate in the 21 divisions. You guys know that my channel is dedicated to the 21 divisions, but it's also dedicated to the Orishas because I am initiated in both religions. I'm initiated in Santeria as well as the 21 divisions. The 21 divisions is very secretive, but it can also be very confusing and discombobulated because of the many different ways that it's taught and the many different ways that it is pretty much explained or expressed. I had pretty much put a picture on my community post here on my YouTube page that stated the first stage of being initiated, which is the refrescamiento or the refresco. The refresco is pretty much when you have a ceremony with your spiritual core in the 21 divisions, and the mambo or the hugan is there with you, and you all are having a misa or a spiritual conversation with the mysterios, your ancestors, or your other spiritual guides. And during this misa, that's when messages, revelations, and pretty much spiritual convictions are given to you during the ceremony as well as your refrescos. The whole process should be and is supposed to be guided by the mysterios, your ancestors, and the spirit guides. Because in the 21 divisions, we're all about honoring our ancestors, honoring our spirit guides, honoring God, but also honoring the mysterios. Because in the 21 divisions, we see the mysterios as seres, or pretty much as ancestors, but they're also seen as messengers of God, because in the 21 divisions we do believe in the Catholic Church. So that means that whenever you pray to an angel or to a mysterio, they can only move on the behalf of God telling them to do so or not to do so. And so during the refresco or the refrescamiento, that's when you are supposed to be refreshed with the waters, the colognes, and whatever supplements or entities are used during the refresco process. It is very similar to a lavetet, which is the head washing ceremony that they do in Haitian voodoo to initiate a person in the Haitian voodoo religion. With the refresco are pretty much head washes that initiate you into the religion known as the 21 divisions. Now, the second part of being an initiate in the 21 divisions, everybody talks about being a caballo, and everybody talks about, after being a caballo, then you become a mambo or jugan or brujo or bruja. But they leave out the aplazamiento stage. Some people do not believe in aplazamiento, or calling a person in a plaza, is because when you call somebody in a plaza, or if you say somebody is in the aplazamiento stage, you're considering them to be a slave of the brujo or the bruja, or they're in slavery because they're following behind the brujo or the bruja, or they're following behind the mambo or the ugan, or they're just like the water boy or the water girl of the high priest or high priestess. That is not really what it is. A lot of these spiritual houses in the 21 divisions, or a lot of the societies in the 21 divisions, they have their own rules and their own ways of doing things. But the aplazamiento stage is when you learn the ways of the mysterios. You learn the rituals, you learn the rites, you learn the ceremonies, you learn how to greet, you learn how to dance, you learn how to converse, and you learn how to have a relationship with the mysterios as well as God, the angels, your spirit guides, your ancestors, your godparents, your god siblings, and the ways of the house. And that could either take months or years for you to really like process, because TikTok and social media, they really got like the spiritual game messed up when it comes to being initiated into these things. A lot of people do not believe me when I talk about the things that I talk about. A lot of people have tried to bury me or hurt me or hinder me in what I talk about because they believe that I should not be as gifted as I am, and they don't believe that I'm as called as I am. And I am. The Orishas have chosen me, and the Mysterios have chosen me to talk about these things. A lot of people question me because I don't look the way that they think I should look. calling myself the Dominican voodoo spiritualist or saying that I'm an initiate of Santeria of the 21 divisions. I have Cuban ancestry. I have Dominican ancestry. I have Puerto Rican ancestry. I have Nigerian ancestry. I have a lot of different ethnicities running in and through my veins. So if you come at me, so if you try to pop me, if you try to block or cut or somehow sever my spiritual ties, you're not going to do it. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to win. And you're not going to cap me. Because a real Caribbean person knows and a real African person knows. And some people may think that I'm being racist or nationalist or whatever, but it is what it is. People in our cultures know that you don't come against your own. If you come against your own blood, if you fight blood with blood, or if you fight spirit with spirit, you're not going to win. It's going to end up being a big explosion or just a lot of, confusion, or you just won't win. Because whether people like it or not, some people of certain ancestries just got it like that. Some people of certain bloodlines and certain nationalities and certain ancestries just got it like that, where no matter how much you use the same spirits against them, no matter how much you use the same entities or deities or ancestors and whatnot against them, you're not going to win. Because how you going to use somebody's spirits against them to fight them when they the ones that's working with them and walking with them? So if y'all want to question me and think I'm not good enough and think I'm not called or whatever because of how I look, then go right ahead, but you're not going to win. Because when you go to these readers and when you go to these TikTokers and these spiritualists and these voodoo saints and mambos and hugans about me, they lying to y'all if they're saying I'm not called. They're lying to y'all if they're saying, oh, she's not walking with the Orishas and Mysterios. She's just walking with jobs, or she's walking with trickster spirits, or she's walking with entities she knows nothing about. They're lying to you. They're lying to you. Because if they're saying that I don't walk with this and I don't walk with that, they're lying to you. So you're not going to win. Come against me if you want to, but you're not going to win. You're not going to stop nothing. You're not going to cap nothing. You're not going to prevent me from doing anything. Because I'm going to still be here. I'm going to still be blessed. I'm going to still have my channels, my vibe, my entities, my plethoras, whatever I got, I'm still going to have it. So you're not going to win. Try again. Now, the Aplazamiento stage is where you learn. Because like I said, TikTok, social media world, they pretty much got you thinking that all you have to do is just do point A, B, and C, and now you're a priest, and now you're a priestess. Why do y'all think that don't nobody know how to do anything anymore? There has been a drastic change and a decline of gifted and really like spiritual healers now. Because everybody wants to be a mambo, everybody wants to be a hugan, everybody wants to be a high priestess and whatnot, but you don't know how to do nothing. All you know how to do is light candles. All you know how to do is pray. All you know how to do is script and sprinkle some sugar, some honey, some brown cinnamon brown brown sugar on a candle, or you know how to dress nice and dress pretty and wear this aesthetic of being gifted and called and whatnot, but you don't know how to produce results and you don't know how to do anything. And that's because a lot of spiritualists are missing the aplazamiento. They're missing that work. They're missing the tutelage. They're missing the study. Because I believe that when you become a priest or high priestess, you need to know what to do. If you're charging people thousands of dollars for work, hundreds of dollars for work, you need to know how to make something move. You need to know how to make something shake, and not just burning candles and lighting this and lighting that, and nothing's coming from it. Nothing is coming from it. So you have to, be skilled, be gifted, be talented, and really learn. Because some of these spiritualists in these present day, voodoo saints and mambos and hugans and even tarot card readers, they can't read like they used to. They can't pray. They can't speak. They can't enchant, and they can't really like do anything anymore like they used to, because you have a lot of microwavable spiritualists out now. Just because a person has money and can pay for a $10,000 ceremony or a $20,000 crowning, or could pay 5 to 6K to be initiated and whatnot. That doesn't mean anything. A lot of these people got these crowns because they got money. I mean, it is what it is. They got money. If you got money, you could be crowned. If you got money, you could be initiated. If you got money, you can be up there with the big dogs and whatnot. But if you don't know how to do nothing, you're not going to have no power. Real voodoo people, it's in our blood. Real Orisha people, it's in our blood. Real Obia people, it's in our blood. Real root work is in our blood. It's in African American people, Caribbean people, Nigerian people, Ghanaian people, Jamaican people. Whatever you believe in, that is an ancestral practice. It is in you already. And in order for your ashe or your fuerza or your force to grow, you have to water it. You have to learn. You have to be taught. Some of these things can be taught by an elder. Some can be taught by teachers. And some of these things can be taught by your ancestors. And that's why a lot of these spiritualists and root workers are so powerful, is because they learn from their ancestors. They learn from their spirits, or they learn from the best, and they don't tell y'all that. And the reason why some people hold a lot of these classes, or they hold a lot of these tutorials and Patreon pages, is because they have what's needed. They have the talent, they have the gifts, they have the wisdom. And some of that stuff cannot be given out for free. But the Aplazamiento stage is a stage that people don't like to acknowledge, and they don't really like to say, because they feel like it's not real, that you're supposed to be chain balled to a priest, the high priestess, for 1,000 and some years, or you're supposed to be locked in this house just doing the same thing over and over again and not learning anything. I read for so many people who have been in spiritual houses and under different people, and they didn't learn nothing. They got the title, or they got a little bit what they could get, but they didn't learn anything. And we have to be honest. Some people will not get everything. Some people won't get everything. And I know a lot of people are so keen on being in the house and getting under somebody and being with somebody. That's cool for you if it works, because some people need a community. Some people need a house. Some people need a foundation. But all of us will not go that route because we don't need it. And it's not meant for us. Because the reason why some of y'all keep hitting, walls and dead end streets, so you're not getting the full initiations and the knowledge, is because you're not meant to be there. And we have to be honest that some people are not really meant to be in these religions, because you don't share the lineage, you don't share the heritage, and you don't really know anything, or you don't really know the entities or the spirits that really walk with these energies in these religions like that. You don't. So when it's all said and done, you have to do what's best for you, and you have to do what works for you. But you also have to let your spirit guides and your spirit speak to you and let you know what's next. Like, for example, my Puerto Rican ancestors have been speaking to me all these years, the Cuban ones, the Haitian ones, the Dominican ones. But now I've noticed that the Jamaican ancestors are like really speaking to me, and they want me to tap into them more, because I just notice how every time I tend to talk to somebody that's of Jamaican descent and they tap into me or I tap into them, it's like we either just clash, or we just kind of have like this heaviness and stuff in our heads. And it's like I have not touched my Jamaican ancestors in a while, because sometimes your ancestors will come back to you, or when you reach the level of maturity, they will connect back to you. Because I remember back in the day, in my early days of spirituality, I didn't want nothing to do with my Jamaican ancestors, because I've noticed how in my present day life, a lot of the traumas, a lot of the errors, a lot of the depression and sadness, and just like the misinformation, a lot of different things that I did not like about myself and about the way that I was, cultivating and whatnot, it came from them. Because when I was, divining and praying and honoring my ancestors, a lot of these a lot of these hurts and pains and issues from like childhood and trauma and depression and different eras of my life that I didn't get, but I should have got, it came from them, and I just couldn't deal with it. And then some of them, they were even kind of like mean to me. They was like, "We don't care, we gonna do this or that." And I was like, "Okay, now I won't fool with y'all," because I mean, we just gotta be honest. Some of our ancestors or predecessors, or even our present day family members, they didn't do right by us. They didn't do us right. And a lot of people now in the spiritual world are speaking up on that, because some ancestors you can't talk to like that. If they weren't with you in life, they're not going to be with you in death. And then you have some ancestors who need to be elevated, because we got people in our families that's toxic, rude, mean, hateful, disrespectful, or they showed a lot of favoritism to certain people in our families and really didn't even favor us. So sometimes if you honor an ancestor that didn't favor you in life or favor you in the spirit, they may intentionally skip over you and bless a present day family member instead of blessing you as a way to spite you, to let you know that they don't like you. And I've actually had that happen to me before. So it's like you have to know yourself, but you have to know your people and you have to know your world in order to connect to the things that vibe with you and that stick and stay with you. So the Aplazamiento stage pretty much is the learning era. That's where you learn, that's where you grow, that's where you're fed, that's where you're cultivated, and that's pretty much where you get taught. Because TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, they're not showing you that. They just showing you the botanicas, the candles, the herbs, the lighting, the auras, the energies, the possessions, and all of this stuff that we do in spirituality, but they're not teaching you how to get there. Some people were born with this. Some people were born into this in their families. Some people came into this and they were taught and they were cultivated and they were, learned and they were gifted and they were skilled, but they had to pay a price for it. And yes, some of the stuff you can learn on TikTok, on social media, but some of the stuff you can't learn on TikTok or social media. Some of the stuff you can't even learn in a book. Some of the stuff to this day you still have to be taught by somebody. It still has to be taught to you. You have to learn this stuff in a learning session or a learning environment or in a one-on-one connection with somebody. And, unfortunately for some of you all who want to get into this, you can't pay your way into that. It has to come to you naturally or by way of your spirits or by way of you being gifted. So I say all of that to say this, that the Aplazamiento stage is a place to learn. It's a place to be gifted and guided, but to grow. Because a lot of times in spirituality, we feel as though if we got money, we can boom, boom, pow, and that's it. And you can boom, boom, pow, and that's it. Because it's a known fact that with money comes speed, comes ease, comes access, comes a lot of different fast, quick results that a lot of people, can't come by because of finances. But you can surpass the whole world if you have enough money to do so. And spirituality can be done that way. But as far as knowledge and power and building up your favor and your ashe and your foresight and your force, that comes by tutelage, training, and learning. So I hope you guys love this video. Don't forget to like, share, and leave positive comments. But if you have any questions, I do open the floor up to questions and inquiries. But if you also want to book a reading with me, book a session with me, feel free to email me at the Dominican Voodoo Spiritualist, all lowercase letters, at gmail.com. And if you want to book a reading with me, you can email me at that same email as well. And have a good day.